Iran. And here are the rest of your business headlines. Gas prices, they are still rising in the U.S. as the war with Iran ramps up. According to AAA, the cost of gas is hovering right below $4 per gallon. And that's up 34% since the war started due to a dip in oil shipping traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. And as summer temperatures heat up, the price of ice cream is cooling down. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics saying that the average price of a half gallon of ice cream fell below $6 last month. Selective breeding and high-tech dairy production have increased the supply of butterfat, which is the most expensive ingredient in your ice cream, and that's what seems to be driving some of the wholesale prices down. Thank goodness. New data is now showing that the number of charging stations for electric vehicles, it has outpaced their sales in most of the European Union. Advocacy group Transport and Environment reporting that all but one EU member state already meet requirements for the amount of charging stations. They say the data challenges arguments from some lawmakers that the shift to electric vehicles should actually be slowed down. Universal Pictures says the younger audiences especially turned out in full force, with IMAX theaters even adding late night and early morning screenings to meet demand. The film is Nolan's first since releasing Oppenheimer in 2023 and is among his biggest opening weekends. Well, so close, but so far. We'll check in on how Argentina fans are coping with the loss to Spain and what probably was Leo Messi's latest chance to bring home the World Cup glory.
In every corner of Africa are breathtaking landscapes, inspiring breakthroughs,
all right, let's go!
And the people that enrich communities. Delve deep into every facet of this great continent. Inside art and culture, sports, inside business, tech, and so much more. Inside Africa on CNN, in association with Zenith Bank.
The world's brightest are discovering sustainable solutions to reshape our world.
This is innovation, absolutely.
From amoeba-based biocontrol to low-carbon building systems and unlocking the potential of vertical farming.
Here we've recreated the climate conditions of the Japanese Alps.
These brilliant minds are driving every facet of our society to a smarter, cleaner future.
What's the next most important problem we can solve with the mycelium technology we have?
Innovate on CNN in association with NGK.
The history of life is right here. This is our planet. This is our home.
Wow, the size of this animal.
Water has the ability to absorb, to cleanse, to migrate, move. That's nature's magic.
To see a sight like this gives you such incredible hope.
When you put your mask on, you get into the water, and you just have this whole world open up to you.
The ocean is still the greatest part of this planet. It's time to start giving back.
You can wake up every morning with one single priority and save the most important place on Earth.
Every one of us can create change, and that starts really young.
This is ambitious, it's bold, brave, and it's necessary.
I'm Richard Quest. I love traveling the world. Broaden the mind, open the heart, and I'm not done yet.
Today on CNN, in association with Turkish Airlines.
We've always started in the same place. Real people and real impact.
We are CNN International's brand studio.
Connection is at the heart
of what we do.
We are storytellers. Inspired by people.
Powered by insight.
For 20 years,
the world's most respected brands
have trusted us to tell their stories.
Informing, inspiring, creating connection.
If you can keep your head when markets all around you are losing and you can't see a way through, if you can trust your instincts on when to buy, sell, or wait, and don't be tired by the waiting. If you can trade and not make money your master, meeting triumph and disaster in equal measure. If you can run with the bulls and not be afraid of the bears, treating both impostors the same. For when we come together, we will make sense of it all. And then the business world will be yours and all that is in it. And what is more, my friend, you will be profitable. For you are indeed watching Quest means business.
Does this deal at all address Iran's ballistic missile programs?
Fully functional video games have popped up here at the War Memorial. How do you win over Trump voters?
So this is what I want to tell you.
Watch The Lead weekdays on CNN.
Well, the second tropical depression of the Atlantic hurricane season seems to be taking shape. You can see it there in the Gulf. Forecasters expecting it to strengthen into Tropical Storm Bertha in the coming hours. And the system is expected to bring some heavy rain, tropical storm force winds, and some flooding to parts of the U.S. Gulf Coast. A tropical storm watch currently in effect for areas along the Florida Panhandle. Well, despite Argentina's World Cup loss, soccer fans flocked to Buenos Aires' Plaza de la República to celebrate their team's incredible journey, waving flags, chanting, and dancing well into the night. CNN's Stefano Pozzebon reports on how Argentina fans are handling this loss.
Sadly, it wasn't to be. After a commanding performance in the World Cup final, Spain beat Argentina 1-0, and here in Buenos Aires it feels like the end of an era. It could have been the last match of Lionel Messi's international career. A few fans are sticking around here in the Buenos Aires Fan Fest just to appreciate the images of the awarding ceremony, but really it's just a bittersweet tears for a nation that really supported the run of their national team. One of many is Guillermo. Guillermo, it felt like the end of an era. It could be the last match from Lionel Messi. How do you feel about it?
Indeed, very sad, an illusion that fades away. Spain was superior, and well, the team gave it all, and we are very proud to feel this passion when we play. I'm proud of the team, and I'm proud of the families that support the team and support the coach.
And Guillermo, I've seen a lot of people clapping at the Spaniards when they won. There is a lot of football respect between these two nations.
Yes, I think that's something that Scaloni always taught us and said in the press conference. This is sport, and sport unites the world. Fair play above all.
Thank you so much. Scaloni being, of course, the Argentinian coach, Lionel Scaloni. The question is whether he will stick around with the team. But yes, this is the prevailing sentiment here in Buenos Aires. Applauding the worthy winner and celebrating a run from the Argentinian team that surprised many because it was not a commanding run as well as in 2022. Tomorrow, Monday, they will come back to Buenos Aires. They will be cheered and welcomed home as heroes. But tonight...
What a World Cup that was. Thank you so much for watching this hour. I'm Polo Sandoval in New York. I'll be right back with you in a moment with more of your headlines here on CNN Newsroom.
The history of life is right here. This is our planet. This is our home.
Wow, the size of this animal.
Water has the ability to absorb, to cleanse, to migrate, move. That's nature's magic.
To see a sight like this gives you such incredible hope.
When you put your mask on, you get into the water, you just have this whole world open up to you.
The ocean is still the greatest part of this planet. It's time to start giving back.
You can wake up every morning with one single priority and save the most important place on Earth.
Every one of us can create change, and that starts really young.
This is ambitious, it's bold, brave, and it's necessary.
In a divided America,
Where do I fit?
You tell me, ask your party.
Abby Phillip brings all sides to the table with the biggest debates to wrap up your day.
I hear what you're saying Trump believes in, but do you think it's a good idea?
Newsnight with Abby Phillip, Tuesday through Saturday on CNN.
We're keeping low here because we've been told the Houthis might be able to see us.
We are aware that we were abandoned.
When the settlers are here and threatening you, what's going through your mind?
I can't explain it.
We all just want to take our territory back.
Nothing will bring us back what we lost.
It's a wheel of genocide, he says. This is what liberation looks like.
Amazing.
It is a busy news day all around the world.
This is One World.
The world's top headlines with some of the world's biggest players.
Stories that captivate from two unique perspectives. Zain Asher and Biana Golodriga use their extensive experience to cover global news with passion and intellect.
Walk us through what specifically Secretary of State Marco Rubio was talking about. What leverage, if any, does Prime Minister Netanyahu have at this point?
One World with Zain Asher and Biana Golodriga. Weekdays on CNN.
I'm Larry Madowo in Nairobi, Kenya, and this is CNN.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Polo Sandoval live in New York, and this is CNN Newsroom. The U.S. strikes Iran for a 9th straight night as the renewed conflict threatens to spiral out of control. Plus, a British runner shatters a 27-year-old world record after completing the fastest mile in history. Josh Kerr joins me in a moment. And a little later, as home ownership becomes further out of reach for some Americans, CNN speaks with Ohio residents who say they feel priced out of the American dream.
Live from New York, this is CNN Newsroom with Polo Sandoval.
And welcome to the program. We do want to begin in the Middle East, where U.S. Central Command says that it has concluded a 9th consecutive night of strikes against Iran. Explosions, they were heard in cities across the northwest and coastal areas. Iranian state media is reporting that its military also launched missiles toward, quote, enemy targets, and that the UK Maritime Authority says that a vessel is on fire and adrift just off the coast of Oman after it was struck by an unknown projectile. The U.S. military is reporting the death of another American service member. Service member was killed in northern Iraq during the controlled detonation of a downed Iranian drone, according to the Pentagon. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that the door to diplomacy with Iran, that it's still open. Let's get the latest now and head over to CNN's Leila Garagoslu, who joins me from Abu Dhabi. Leila, so we talked a little bit about where some of those strikes have been reported. I mean, what else is happening right now?
Yeah, so, I mean, per Marco Rubio's latest comments about the door to diplomacy being open, the Iranians have also indicated that they could be open to diplomacy, but it really depends on how the U.S. behaves over the next few weeks and whether they look to escalate the war and expand the war. Now, the IRGC over the weekend, through various Iranian outlets, essentially said that they would always respond in kind and that they would respond proportionally to anything that the U.S. does. So if the U.S. strikes military bases, they will respond in kind. If the U.S. strikes things like desalination plants, then they will do so as well. But they're saying essentially that they're going to respond proportionally to leave space for that off-ramp, for the potential of diplomacy. Now, with the MOU and the ceasefire kind of being in shambles and in tatters, there's no time limit really on that diplomacy. So when that would happen or when they could come back to the table would really be up in the air. And right now there's no real indication that they are willing to do that. That being said, the Iranian state media has reported that there have been overtures from mediators like Qatar and Pakistan to kind of get things back on track. And that really speaks to the broader concern over this war expanding. The 9 days that we've seen of consecutive attacks have been very difficult, particularly on those southern cities in Iran, on what is essentially Iran's defensive arch, the cities and coastal islands that allow Iran to control the strait. And as you said, we did see some or hear some explosions in northwestern Iran in the city of Tabriz. So if things are going to expand, mediators are going to want to try to put things back in the bottle, get these two countries back to the negotiating table to finally get an off-ramp and an end to this war. Polo?
Layla, thank you so much for all that reporting, as always. So, Layla, touching on that very important point, which is potential mediators here. Let's talk a little bit more about that and head over to Gary Grappo. He's the CEO of Equilibrium International Consulting, as well as the former Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia, also former U.S. Ambassador to Oman. Mr. Ambassador, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
On one of those last points that we just heard from Layla about a potential diplomatic off-ramp, I mean, at this point, after now 9 consecutive tit-for-tat level strikes, I mean, do you think that diplomacy is still within reach?
Well, diplomacy is always within reach. It really depends on the genuine interest and intentions of the parties involved. It's pretty clear at this point that both parties see it as in their interest to persevere in this sort of low-key conflict that they're now engaged in, as opposed to the more intense conflict that they faced up until early April, and that by continuing that, their interests are better served. When that calculation changes on one side, that is, they determine that they have more to lose by continuing on this course than gain, then we can look toward more serious efforts to bring diplomacy to the fore. But at the moment, although both sides are saying the door is open, I don't see much opportunity for it.
Yeah. And given your vast wealth of knowledge on the region, Mr. Ambassador, I'm curious how you view these recent escalations in the conflict, specifically when it comes to impact on Gulf countries.
That's where I really require some closer scrutiny on the part of the United States, and it's not clear to me exactly what kind of communication is occurring between the Gulf states and Washington. The Gulf states have certainly taken their share of hits from the Iranians, not only during the principal period of the war, but more recently in these 9 days, especially Kuwait, Qatar, and Bahrain, although all of them have been struck. I think they're increasingly alarmed by the almost deaf ear of Washington to their concerns and fears, and that they may not be heard all the time, and they may not have as much leverage with Washington as the Iranians believe. The Iranians are hitting them for 2 reasons, obviously because there are American facilities located in these countries, but secondly, to ratchet up pressure of these particular countries on Washington itself. So the Gulf countries are searching for solutions themselves, and are really hoping that diplomacy finally will come to the fore.
Let's expand on that, Mr. Ambassador. So if countries like Kuwait, Bahrain, that as you mentioned, have already been struck in the last few months of this conflict, if their concerns seem to be falling on deaf ears, as you point out, in Washington, then how do they then look after themselves? How do they mitigate their risk or maybe even reinforce their defenses?
Well, they have already been looking for ways to strengthen themselves. I mean, obviously, they have depended to a considerable degree on U.S. weapon systems, which have been very effective, and they still have those, and they are going to continue to depend on those and utilize those. However, they are already reaching out to other weapon sources, Ukraine, South Korea, Europe, even China and Russia. And that's probably a smart thing if we're looking strictly at their defensive interests. But I think secondly also, they're going to have to look to themselves in terms of better communication and coordination among the Gulf countries. And then finally, there was an effort over the past several years to reach out to Iran, to sort of normalize ties with Iran, and to some extent, those efforts were successful, particularly in the case of the UAE and Saudi Arabia. But they also need to understand, and I'm sure they do, after what's transpired since the war began, is that this sort of normalization does not equate to deterrence and defense, that they are going to have to take measures to protect themselves with increased defensive weapons and measures, but perhaps even offensive weapons, which is something they may not have considered previously.
If you were back in one of your previous posts, Mr. Ambassador, what would be your advice to the White House and the president's envoys in order to try to secure some sort of an off-ramp?
Well, they'd have to step back and just look at the way this administration has approached the war. In my own estimation, they attacked the United States and Israel at the time, attacked Iran not at its weakest point. In fact, they attacked Iran at its strongest point, that is its military defenses, particularly those of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The real weak point of Iran and the government and the entire nation is their economy. And had the administration focused on the economy from the get-go, that is, increased sanctions, coordinating with our friends and allies around the world, not just relying on ourselves, but our friends and allies around the world to also step up sanctions and increase the economic pressure. Because as it currently stands, the Iranian economy, you can't say it's at the breaking point. It is broken. It is broken. And of course, the first to suffer are the Iranian people. But until that message from the people of the suffering they're experiencing gets through to the leadership, there's probably not going to be much of a change, and they'll continue on the course they're currently on. So focus on really ratcheting up economic pressure, working with our allies and friends around the world.
Yeah, the clock is certainly ticking, as we heard from one of your fellow experts in the last hour. This widening of this conflict means a greater risk to civilians, as you point out, not just in Iran, but also in the rest of the Gulf nations. Mr. Ambassador, grateful for your time as we continue to monitor the situation. Gary Greppo, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's shift gears now. Football fans in Spain, they are waiting to welcome home their reigning champs. They should be touching down in a matter of hours. Massive crowds filled the streets of Madrid after the country's 1-0 World Cup victory over Argentina. The celebration continuing well into the night. The match in New Jersey, the game-winning goal in extra time. It was not a great match for Argentina. In fact, its star, Leo Messi, struggling to keep pace and had nowhere to pass the ball. And at age 39, it could possibly be his last appearance at any World Cup, though we'll see. But Argentina's disappointment led to Spain's second ever World Cup victory, their first since 2010. CNN's Gloria Pazmino giving us a look at how folks here in New York were celebrating.
Well, as you can see, it's absolute jubilation right here in Times Square. Now that Spain has become world champion for the second time, fans have been gathering here all day long, and you could just see the scenes of celebration. Everybody gathering here to celebrate now that the World Cup has come to an end. Spain is the reigning champion, and here in New York we're seeing them celebrate as this World Cup comes to an end.
All right, Gloria Pesmino, thank you. Now to a British runner who once again holds the world record for running a mile in London on Saturday. Josh Kerr finished in 3 minutes and 42.66 seconds. Well, the previous record was 3 minutes and 43.13 seconds. That was set in 1999 when Kerr was just 1 year old. Kerr says that the record was part of his Project 222, which was actually a plan to run the mile in 222 seconds. And to talk more about this record-breaking performance, let's go straight to Josh Kerr himself, joining me live from London. Josh, thank you so much for getting up early for us. It's great to get to talk to you, and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's lovely to chat to you too. It's been a whirlwind last 24 hours, so yeah, it's been smooth, but it's been everything that I've always wanted.
You've had some time now to really reflect on that massive accomplishment, Josh. I'm just curious if you could tell our viewers around the world, what was going through your mind in that last lap as you looked up at the clock?
Yeah, obviously this is, Project 222, just we wanted to break it down into seconds to show how specific we needed to be with things. And I knew my splits that I would have to reach each marker in. So with 409 meters to go, I needed to be at 246.6. And I was able to hit that split with 409 to go. And then it was just about making sure that I wasn't slowing down too much. And so, yeah, foot on the gas a little bit. But, you're walking a red line pretty closely there. Just making sure I wasn't pushing over that red line too early. And then the last 100, the crowd lifted me all the way to the line.
And for folks who may not be aware, you now join a long lineage of British runners who broke that same record, the seventh now in as many decades that you are. Why do you think that we have seen this persistent flow of some incredible talent come out of the UK?
We were all raised with the notion about the sub 4 minute mile. I think everyone can understand what that number means. And back in 1954 was Sir Roger Bannister, a British athlete, breaking the 4 minute barrier for the first time in human history. When everyone told them that it wasn't possible, it was physically impossible to do. And then from there, we've had those stories ingrained in us in the UK. And so when I was going to make my attempt, I knew that it had to be in London. It had to be in front of a UK crowd. And yeah, it's been, I think I'm the seventh British holder of this record. And, my goal was to bring it back to the UK, and, the Americans and everyone else in the world can come after it. But I believe it's a British distance, and I'm looking forward to seeing other people try, because that was a real tough one.
What do you think, what do you want your legacy to be?
I think, for me, the reason I did it where I did it, with a stadium full of young athletes and coaches from the UK and parents, it was just, I needed to believe that I could break into a new number. 342 is not quite 359, that 4 minute barrier down to the three something. However, it was still wrapping your head around trying to get around the track and 4 laps on a track in less than 3 minutes and 43 seconds. And so, yeah, all I want to leave is that legacy is that, as a British athlete in these conditions, you can go after whatever you dream of, and with the right circumstances and the right people around you, anything's possible.
Josh, I have just about 10 seconds left with you. As you savor this moment, and as you've said before, take it a race at a time. I'm just curious if you could close with what could be the next record that you believe is possibly within your reach.
I believe I could make that mile record faster, and I think I could break that 1500 meter world record as well from a similar time frame, about 27, 28 years old. So that'll be the next job.
We can't wait to have you back when you do that. Josh Kerr, it's a pleasure to get to speak to you. Again, congratulations to you and your entire team. You've said it before, you didn't do it alone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, Ukraine's president making another plea to allies for more air defenses. Still ahead on CNN Newsroom, details on the latest large-scale missile assault that was launched by Russia. Plus, Keir Starmer is out and Andy Burnham is in. Now, the new British Prime Minister plans to effect change in government. We'll explain after the break.